The search for Michael Vaughn continues. Michael went missing from his neighborhood in Fruitland in July of 2021. He was just 5 years old at the time. Law enforcement has spent the last year and a half investigating. But the Fruitland police chief says a credible tip led investigators to a home near Michael's neighborhood this weekend.
Crews are back out in Fruitland today searching for Michael Vaughn. Police believe his remains are in the backyard of a Fruitland home, and today is the 6th day crews are excavating the yard. Crews could be at the house on Red Wing Street for another week. This house is just 4 minutes from the Vaughn's home.
As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughn could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wondra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondras' home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughn were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondras' residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
Evidence suggests that there are the following individuals who are currently in custody are involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Sarah Wondra, 35 years old. Sarah lives at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Sarah has firsthand knowledge and is involved in Michael's abduction. Sarah Wondra is currently being held at the Payette County Jail for failing to report a death to law enforcement. And Stacy Wondra, 30 years old, a male. Stacy was also living at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Stacy has firsthand knowledge and is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Brandon Shirtliff, 30 years old, of Kuna, Idaho. Brandon was living with Sarah and Stacy Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe Brandon has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Adrien Lucienne, 32-year-old male out of Toledo, Ohio. Adrien was staying with Sarah and Stacy Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe that Adrien has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. My name is Samantha. Today is November 15th, 2025. How is everybody doing tonight? It's so good to see so many familiar faces, and it's been great to see all the new faces that have been coming in. Good to see you, Rogue and ICU, Dawn, Ashley. Thank you guys all for coming in. Opal is also here. Share Michael's story. His face, stand behind the family and lift them up. Monkey's Army, Michael's Army. Yes, that's what we are. We're Monkey's Army, and we're never going to stop fighting for justice. Beverly, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Shannon is also here. I am having a great day. Thank you so much. Wood Chipper in the house. Unmasked Truth. Thank you all for coming in, for showing support for the Vaughn family and for Michael Vaughn. It's very much appreciated by the family. I know that it is. Brandy loves seeing everybody come in during the lives, and she loves seeing people do lives and bringing awareness to Monkey. Michael Vaughn was abducted July 27th, 2021 in Fruitland, Idaho, in his neighborhood. The four named suspects in Michael Vaughn's abduction and murder are Stacy Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrien Lucienne, and Brandon Shirtliff. 3 out of the 4 are incarcerated, but only Stacy Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. And that was on October 30th, 2025. We have focused on Adrien Lucienne. We've even spoke about Brandon, and today we are going to talk about Sarah Wondra. In this affidavit, Stacy and Brandon were told to follow her lead. Follow her lead. Could she be the mastermind working with Adrien? Because according to Brandon Shirtliff, he told his friend that Sarah and Adrien had met on an app prior to Adrien Lucienne coming to Idaho. We're hearing from other people that Adrien could have been in Idaho in the spring of 2021. And that is 3 to 4 months prior to Michael's abduction. And what was he doing there for that long? We talked about Adrien Lucienne trying to convince a woman there in Fruitland to be a lady of the night for him. We've gone over that. She said no. He still wanted her profile picture. But there were scams going on, and even Brandy Vaughn herself talked about it with Stacy Wondra here on Missing PNW. Those scams were to download apps. Brandy Vaughn describes them as human trafficking. She asked Stacy. And we know in this affidavit that Stacy states that the idea to take a child to sell for money was Adrien's. And they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacy was asked if Sarah provided any direction throughout any part of this. Stacy said that Sarah asked him and Brandon to follow her lead. which was to take a child. So if it was Adrien Lucien's idea to sell a child, was it him and Sarah's plan to, quote, take the kid, unquote, found on page 6 of the probable cause affidavit, and we'll be talking about it. Because Sarah Wondra has fantasized in the past about wanting to kidnap people, and we will talk about that. And not just by her ex-husband, but by somebody new that recently came out that Justin and I just spoke with a few days ago. From Clutch Them Pearls. Michael is going to get justice. Brandy Vaughn is hell bent on making sure of it. And so is the rest of the Vaughn family. So is Monkey's Army. If you have any tip at all, please call the Fruitland tip line at 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too big or too small. Let law enforcement decide whether or not your tip is credible. But if you have a tip, please imagine if it was your child that was missing. Michael isn't coming home the way that the family had originally wanted him to. They're going to be putting Michael to rest when he comes home. So please, if you have any information, get it off your chest. Call it in 208-642-6006, or you can email findmichael@fruitland.org. There is a lot of information to go over tonight, and you could help the family by sharing anything having to do with Michael's case, sharing his beautiful smile, his beautiful face, like Brandy always says. So please it takes just a few minutes to pull something up and share on your social media platform. Monkey and his beautiful face needs to be out there for the public to see. I hope everybody is doing good tonight. Let me get over here and chat and see who's all here. Smiley Miley. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Hair Curlers and Crime. Best YouTube street name. I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here. FAF 021. Thank you for being here. Bonnie's Journey is in the house. Thank you guys all for coming. I appreciate you guys all so much. Mischief all around me. So many new names are here. Thank you. I want to thank all of my beautiful moderators for showing up, because tonight is one of those nights when I just decided to throw up alive, and I am quite famous for spur of the moment. So please make sure to hit the notification bell, and if you can, take just 1 second, go out and give a thumbs up to help get this out in the algorithm so that Michael's story and this information can go out. My beautiful moderator, Zane, I love ya. Love ya, love ya. Sarah's in the house. My moderators work so hard. Not only do they do research, they are constantly watching chat and keeping the drama going. So I appreciate every single one of you that come. Angel Girl is here. Thank you so much for being here. And Sally Mae. Lena James, thank you so much for being here. Oh, somebody came in your chat last night, Samantha. I forget whom. You know, I have been hearing a lot of creators and a lot of people talk about the fact that Sarah's been charged. I have yet heard that. Just gonna say, a lot of people are assuming that she's been charged because there's a second probable cause affidavit and it has Sarah's name on it, and it's exactly like Stacey Wandra's. I could be wrong. I just maybe am missing something. But I do know several people that are very close to the case, and I believe I would be told Wood Chipper gifted 1 PNW membership. If you receive that membership, please thank Wood Chipper for doing that. Thank you so very much for that, Wood Chipper. I really appreciate you. Somebody just became a new whisperer. I really do appreciate that so very much. Wild Wanderer, Cindy, thank you for coming. And Smiley Miley is the one who got that subscription. Thank you so much, Wood Chipper. You're so kind. Trish is here. Thank you for coming. Eve Hickman, always sharing Monkey's information on her YouTube and probably over on other social medias. If you guys get a chance, you might want to go over to Facebook and join Michael Vaughn Case Revisited. That's where I download all my information. I have downloaded the Stacey's probable cause affidavit there, and today here in the community on YouTube, I also posted it there. Sarah is posting up the email address and the tip line phone number for anybody that needs to grab it. She'll do it throughout the show. All right. Voices Against the Wall is here, or Behind the Wall is here. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. Who else is here? I know Rizzo's in the house. Thank you for coming. All right. So we've got a lot to talk about, and I just want to kind of get into it before it leaves my memory, because I have been reading a lot today. YouTuber Girly is here. So many new names. I love it. I love seeing new people come in. You may not have came in here to watch Michael's case. You may be doing it other places, but I'm just glad you're here now, even if you're lurking in the bushes. Forget Me Not is here. Misdemeanor. I've been putting out a ton of information lately, that's for sure. Glad to see you. All right. So, Sarah Wondra. All things Sarah Wondra. If you guys missed last night's live, you might want to go watch that. Last night was all things Adrien Lucienne, and we put together a lot of connections connecting Adrien to the human trafficking world. He sure is a little bit, he's got a lot going on there. And just for everybody that knows, you know, everything I do here is factual information, verified information. We do speculate and theorize sometimes. I'll let you know if we're doing that. And Brandy Vaughn knows what I talk about here. And I make sure that what I talk about is okay to talk about. All right. So first things first. Let's talk about Sarah. Thank you, Opal. Justice for Michael Monkey Vaughn. Thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you for always being super, Opal. We love you here. Always so kind, so beautiful. Your heart is so big, so big. Thank you, Holly. Prayers to Brandy and Tyler. It's going to be a rough road ahead. Even though charges are coming, it's going to be a rough road. A very rough road, a very long, rough road. As details come out in the case, just like the details in this affidavit that has came out had new information about the ways or the way that Michael was unalived, according to Stacy Wondra. It's very difficult information. And throughout the night, as we talk, moderators, please, if you could, throw up those warning signs for triggers. Let's see. I've got a few things. Thank you so much for a super sticker. Gen X Mama Llama. Thank you very much. Appreciate your kindness. Thank you for coming in. This affidavit is very hard to go over, and tonight it will be difficult. As I'm going through this affidavit, and I really wanted to just talk like Sarah Wondra, I realized she's mentioned a lot in this affidavit, as is Stacy. But I mean, there's a lot going on with Sarah Wondra. We have her mental health, her suspicious behavior, whether she could be the mastermind of all of this, and then statements that Sarah Wondra has said. And then, of course, any and all of the information that I could possibly find as far as information we've gone over before in the past. We got a new member in the house. Everybody get ready to dance in your chairs. Thank you, Tara, for becoming a whisper. Wow. Cindy, that is very, very awesome of you. A $49 super chat, praying Michael comes home to his family. And that is so very much appreciated. Thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. Chaos Queen is here. Thank you so much for coming in, hun. Everybody, welcome here to talk about Michael. Gen X Mama. We got Carol. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Toaster's here. Okay, so back to what I was saying. She has so much to do with this case. So very much to do with this case. I am just looking at everything and just wowed. In all actuality, just wowed. How many people remember this one? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. Oh my goodness, there's so much in here. Hold on a second. Is this one? Do you guys remember this?
Oh man, sorry. It just hit me so hard. I don't deserve half the stuff I've been given. Not even anything, really. God just keeps blessing me and I don't deserve it. I can't pay back.
She says she just can't pay it back. She has such a guilty conscience after Michael Vaughn is abducted. She has a lot of very strange and odd behavior having to do with religion, and the affidavit talks about it. The affidavit actually talks about the fact that she's having some serious mental issues. And sorry, I'm just looking at a few things because I have a lot up here to share as far. Did you guys ever hear about April, the spring of April 2021? Thank you so much, Shannon. That's so appreciated. Much love to the family and to you, Sam. Thank you so much, love. I appreciate you so very much for everything you do. So many people lately sending me so much information, and I just want to thank everybody. You know who you are, that I talk to, that shares things with me, that researches with me, that are good with core documents, people working on timelines, you name it. The community, Monkey's Army, and this community is just as hell-bent as Brandy Vaughn on getting justice for Michael Vaughn. That is definitely true. Wispy in the house. Hey, what's up? Good to see you. I found it strange and creepy for Sarah to have Michael's missing poster on her fridge. You mean this one? Yeah, me too. And just days after Michael's disappearance, and it's even mentioned in the affidavit that this is on the refrigerator. And just to clarify something, Brandy Vaughn did walk the neighborhood and pass out flyers in the neighborhood. And the flyer that Brandy passed out, because when she was, you guys are going to find this very, how creepy is this? Brandy was passing out flyers and she was passing them out everywhere. We know this. She didn't really stop even passing out flyers until she got so sick that she couldn't pass out flyers. Okay? She put a flyer on the Wanderer's door. Did you guys know that? Brandy Vaughn had put a flyer. And there's a lot of people have spread a rumor that this is the flyer that Brandy put on their door. It's not even the same flyer. So I was clarifying that as I seen it, but I also wanted to, a mother of a missing child is out passing flyers, and she just so happens to put a flyer up at the Wanderer's house. People that are now suspects in her son's abduction and unaliving. It's insane. Grubby Goat is here. Thank you for coming in. I just think it is crazy. Okay, so the other information that I wanted to share, let me see what the name of this one is. We know that Stacy Wondra was seen on CCTV camera at the splash pad there in Michael's neighborhood. And it's even in this affidavit. The affidavit says that he got out of his car and he was checking the handles on the car to like see if the car was locked, and never even entered the car, got back in the driver's seat and pulled out. Stacy Wondra said that he pulled over to get the chew that had fallen into the floorboard, and he never opened the car door in the video of the CCTV footage. Never even opened the car door to get that can of chew. The reason why he says he stopped at the splash pad. My point to this is that Stacy was also seen at a skate park later on that day. Well, not seen. His GPS location is in his phone, and he shared his phone information with a couple of creators, and they were able to see Stacy Wondra sitting at the skate park. Kitty corner, by the way, from where Brandy Vaughn was working that day. My point to all of this is that April of 2021, so just a few months before Michael was abducted, or maybe it was, no, it had to have, hold on a second. Sorry, April 2022. No, that's not right either. Okay, I'm not even going to get the date. Anyway, at some point, sorry you guys, that information could not be right. They went to a laundromat, and at this laundromat, they are seen, they're on camera. Let me just share this information with you in this video. Hold on. At a laundromat, kitty corner from a splash pad. Hold on, I gotta go through everything here. I've got a lot of stuff to share, so I just got to, here's this. Okay. It is April 2021 at a laundromat, kitty corner from a splash pad. And then later on at that same laundromat, there was a flyer that was destroyed. And it was a flyer of monkeys. But here, we're going to share this. Suspects in the Michael Vaughn abduction, Stacy and Sarah Wondra at a laundromat in April 2021, even though they had a washer and dryer. And in the picture was also seen a duffel bag. Inside the laundromat, there are I don't know if it's pictures or wallpaper or what. So that's the picture of them, and that is a picture from the inside of the laundromat to compare that is the laundromat where they were. Name of the place was called the Laundry Basket. Where it is circling around, it says Fruitland Community Park and Splash Pad. This, I will let you know, is not the same splash pad. Not the same splash pad that is in the neighborhood of the Wondras and the Vaughns. That one is down below, and it is called Crestview Park. That is there off of 8th. You can see it here at the bottom left hand. At another splash pad, at a laundromat right next to, see the upper right green dot and red dot in April? And what did I say at the beginning of this live? If Adrien Lucienne was there come April or March, which is what we're starting to figure out, and Stacy Wondra says that it was the night that he came that Sarah and Adrien were talking about scamming on apps. Brandy uses the word human trafficking, and Stacy Wondra is pretty much, I mean, lots of things are being said about this app and human trafficking. And now they're at a splash pad or at a laundromat, kitty corner from a splash pad in April. In April. And Michael's flyer had been vandalized later down the road. I'm at the laundromat. This is a post from somebody. I'm at the laundromat in Fruitland, and I see that I took it down because I feel like it's disrespectful and downright morbid. I'm posting in case someone would like to replace the poster. My family and I pray every day they find this little boy. It was one of the first flyers that went out for Michael Vaughn had been destructed there later on at that laundromat. It is absolutely crazy that they're sitting at a splash pad. Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Darzilla. 10 almost said 10,000. See how many times I've read this affidavit? $10. I shared Michael today on my Facebook missing persons page and on my personal page. Thank you for doing all these great lives for Monkey. Justice for Michael Monkey Vaughn. This is so much appreciated. Thank you so much, and thank you for being part of Monkey's Army. Let's dance. You guys so much. Yeah. What? I was going through a lot of the information that I had in my computer today because I wanted to find everything I could on Sarah. And then I came across that, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? This is in April of 2021. They were there. They were kitty cornered from a splash pad. Now we're piecing together that Adrien Lucienne could have came in April or March. Say what? Yeah, what? When did they start planning? And like a lot of other people are wondering, were any other kids are in that area? Had they came up missing? I mean, I haven't heard of any. I'm just, saying what other people. Callie came. Hello, hon. Good to see you. So it's just very strange to me, and I wanted to share it. Okay. I'm looking through. Like I said, this is going to kind of be a long live. If we don't get through everything, we can always come back. The Real Kills, thank you so much for coming in. But I'm just finding a lot more very, very disturbing things. A lot of really disturbing things. Another thing that I found is this JLR post. So Jonathan Lee Riches has posted this up. We'll give him credit. I want to share this with you because this is crazy. I actually did share it on a different live. Still going to give him credit because I'm just kind of sharing my live. But let me see. Okay. Let me see. I did a live called Sarah Wondra Has Always Wanted to Kidnap People. If you guys ever want to go over and watch it, I do have a Michael Vaughn playlist. It is usually always in the description of all of my lives. If you want to look at the description and just check out some that I've already done. Jonathan or JLR found something that is just so suspicious. And I'm so glad that I was going through all my content and found this again, because now it's even more, because we're actually starting to hear that they did this, according to Stacy, to make money, to sell Michael. So this is huge to me because one of Sarah Wandra's friends got in trouble. Let's take a listen. It's on JLR. If somebody could find JLR's link, one of you mods, please. And because I did forget to copy him. I want to give him some credit for this. But listen, this is going to start off. This is Jamie Burkhart, is who JLR investigates, is going through Facebook and connecting the dots between Jamie Burkhart and Sarah Wondra. And then he explains who Jamie is and what happened at her daycare. So here you just have that's Jamie. It's a picture of her. He's just going through her Facebook. He finds friends list and finds Sarah Wondra.
Jamie?
Let me put on some closed caption here for everybody so we can see everything. He's going to tell you who Jamie Burkhart is.
Burkhart. Jamie Burkhart. Who is Jamie Burkhart? So I Googled around and found this about Jamie.
Thank you,
This
Sarah.
is a newspaper article from March 6, 2007. Former Oregon daycare owner arrested on abuse charges. Police believe there may be more victims yet to come forward in this case. On Monday, Albany police detectives arrested 27-year-old Albany resident Jamie Tennille Burkhart on multiple
S offenses
involving a minor boy. Burkhart was...
And let's not forget, so this is the real me talking, by the way. Let's not forget Sarah Wondra lived in Oregon at one time. And this is a former Oregon daycare. And it's Sarah Wandra's friend.
Lodged in the Lynn County Jail on the following charges. Blank in the first degree.
It says here, very bad. That's why he does not say it. You'll have to read your screen. If you want to zoom in now, you can. Horrible in the first degree, 8 counts. And then S, abuse in the first degree. Attempted, R in the first degree.
Blank in the first degree, 8 counts. Attempted in the first degree, 1 count. The investigation began in early January 2007 when a 20-year-old male reported that he'd been abused by
He had been abused by Burkhart.
over a nearly 2-year period, beginning in approximately 1996 when he was 10 years old. During this time,
This is a little boy, 10 years old, being abused by this woman, Sarah Wandra's friend. Just one more frigging creep to add to the list of all of these RSOs and friggin' weirdos connected to the Wandras, Brandon and Adrien. This is disgusting. It's disgusting. It's so disturbing to hear this. Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. Who are these people? Who do you know, if anybody, who do you know that has connections to over 16 RSOs and knows people like this? We need to start throwing out the trash, y'all. It's time to bring back old school ways of getting rid of sickos like this. I'm just saying.
frame, Jamie Tennille Burkhart operated the Winnie the Pooh Daycare Center.
And this person ran a daycare center with even more children in it. Some of those RSOs that I found, they were working with children in the church, in 2 different churches. Working with children in churches.
Out of her Albany residence located at blah, blah, blah. Jamie Tennille Burkhart, a state certified daycare provider, continued to provide daycare services until about 6 months ago. The investigation is ongoing, and there is reason to believe that there are more victims who have not been identified. Anyone with information regarding Jamie Tennille Burkhart is asked to call the Albany Police Department Detective Section.
It just gets more weird as we move on, doesn't it? JLR, good for you for finding that. Another connection. And we're going to keep talking about all of these connection. Like, as days and weeks move forward, we're going to keep talking about all the different connections that all 4 suspects have with RSOs, gang members that are affiliated with trafficking, and so on. I mean, if you were to zoom in and read what was actually there, it's some of the most just god-awful stuff. And it was like 8 counts. Yeah, JLR has done a lot in Michael's case. There's even an interview that he did with Carson Starkey. That's where they sneak and go. They are fake, so they can do their dirty deeds of Satan. And they do. They go over to Oregon, just saying. Right? It just gets even bigger. So Sarah herself is connected to somebody who has assaulted a 10-year-old boy and possibly others. They believe there was more victims out there and a little Winnie the Pooh daycare being held at her house. Okay. And let's just read a little bit. We're going to switch over to the affidavit, and then we'll talk about some more stuff. I want to kind of go back and forth. That way we're not, just so focused on the affidavit itself, and we can pause and look at other things even though the other things may not, be great to look at either. I just thought maybe going back and forth, showing some clips, going back to the affidavit and whatnot, instead of, just reading a bunch from the affidavit. So I want to start with, in this affidavit, we all know that law enforcement focuses in on the Wondras' house and the suspects just shortly after Michael was abducted. On August 31st, this is on page 3 of the probable cause affidavit. On August 1st, 2021, Fruitland police contacted the residents in Fruitland, was the Wondras' address at 1102 Red Wing. That is a tongue twister. On their initial search of the residence. So this is the first search. I noticed that today. I've read this paragraph 1,000 times. I even talked about whether or not they had searched when they went in, and they did, because it says it. The things you miss, but when you reread things, you catch it. On their first initial search of the residence, they located Adrien Lucienne hiding in the closet. Residents of the home on that date and on July 27th, 2021 were identified as married couple Stacy and Sarah Wondra and their sublets Brandon Shirtliff and Adrien Lucienne. All 4 were interviewed August 1st, 2021. Now, moving forward, Kelly says, I don't know what Sarah experienced in her childhood, but she knows the difference between right and wrong. She even seems to have somewhat remorse. I think she lost her mind afterwards. She wanted to sell Michael from the sounds of it. She wanted to abduct because she's always had that fantasy. And then they were going to sell, but shit hit the fan. That didn't happen. Michael ends up unalive, and I don't think she was expecting that to happen. And I think that's why she kind of just checks out mentally. I agree. And I am not going to read that out loud, but I agree, Woodchipper. I totally agree. Yeah, she wanted money. Going back to the beginning of your live, I'm just now joining you. Thank you so much, KB, for coming in. Baby kisses, crying for herself, hoping for... Why can't I read that word? So, moving forward, all 4 of them are interviewed on August 1st, 2021. On August 21st, which I'm just going to say now, I find very strange, because Sarah is being interviewed, or she reports. Let me just read this. On August 21st, 2021, Sarah reported that on July 27th, 2021, on the day that Michael was abducted, she and Stacy slept in until noon. Sarah said they left their residence around 5 p.m. to tow a vehicle to Cuna. Sarah and Stacy denied they were home around 6:30 p.m. on July 27th, the day that Michael was abducted. But surveillance footage shows Sarah driving a maroon GMC pickup truck on July 27th as she drove out of the neighborhood at 7:08 p.m. So she's lying about the fact. She's saying they left to go tow at 5 p.m. and they weren't home at 6:30 p.m. Stacy has been identified as the front passenger and Brandon was the driver's seat rear passenger. Sarah, Stacy, and Brandon's phone data showed they were co-located as they left the neighborhood at 7 p.m. and drove to Kuna, Idaho. Cell phone tower data and surveillance footage show Sarah, Stacy, Adrien, and Brandon were in the area of their neighborhood at the time of Michael's disappearance. So she's saying that they're not home at 6:30 p.m., but according to the affidavit, cell phone tower data and surveillance footage show all 4 of the suspects are in the neighborhood at the time of Michael's disappearance. Sarah, Adrien, and Brandon returned to the Fruitland, verified by surveillance, in Sarah's blue Toyota Corolla at 5:08 p.m., only to leave again 4 minutes later at 5:12 p.m. The Toyota then came back into the neighborhood again at 5:56, 45 minutes later. So Brandon, Adrien, and Sarah left the neighborhood and came back. 24 minutes later is when Brandon Shirtliff is out walking the neighborhood, don't forget, and he's walking the neighborhood at the same exact time that Monkey is wandering around the neighborhood after he has left his home to go try to find kids to play with. Third, Sarah was interviewed again by law enforcement on November 15th of 2021. Before I go into this, I just want to point out that this August 21st, 2021, when Sarah reported that she had slept until noon and that they left at 5 p.m., this August 21st, 2021 date is very important to me because I know that Adrien Lucienne left Idaho, never to return to Idaho, between August 20th and August 22nd. He left Fruitland. And she's reporting on August 21st this information. That's big to me. Is Adrien getting so sketched out because not only have they talked to them on August 1st, but now they're talking to Sarah again? And now I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I ain't sticking around for this. I'm not sticking around for interviews. Because Adrien was vague in his statements and wouldn't commit to a solid statement. In this entire affidavit, there are no statements in here by Adrien Lucienne. Even though he claims to have talked to the police, he had his attorney talk to the police. There's no actual statements in this entire affidavit by Adrien Lucienne. And he bounces during the same time that Sarah is given or reporting to police on August 21st, 2021. Now, moving forward, Sarah was interviewed again by law enforcement on November 15th. So what is that? 4 months, 3 or so months after Michael Vaughn was abducted, Sarah is interviewed again by law enforcement. November 15, 2021. Stacy was also interviewed after being confronted with a photo of her leaving the neighborhood on July 27th, 2021, which was the day that Michael was abducted, driving the GM pickup at 7:08 p.m. Sarah changed her story and said she was driving the GMC to get Brandon's Mercedes-Benz from Cuna to tow it back to Fruitland. Sarah said the trip to Cuna to get the car had not been previously planned and that it was Stacy who wanted to get the car at the time and date. Well, I had Brandon Shirtliff on my show and I straight up asked him, whose idea was it to go tow your car from Cuna? And he said it was his. I tried as hard as I could, you guys, to go through that clip today and find exactly where it was that he said that. I could not find it. I even tried reading the transcripts, but after going over all of this, reading and everything else I was doing, I couldn't find it, but I know it's there. He told me it was his idea, and here is Sarah saying that it was Stacy who wanted to go get the car at that time and date. Sarah said she stopped at Southwest 8th and South Arizona on the way out of the neighborhood to put the address into the GPS. Sarah needed to put Brandon's address in her GPS. Okay. Sarah said she drove to Cuna, which was Brandon's mother's home. This is on page 4 of the affidavit, by the way. It was worth noting Brandon was in the truck. So Brandon's in the truck and Sarah's putting his mother's address in her phone? Couldn't Brandon give her directions? Or how about it moves on to say, with them, when they entered the GPS coordinates to go to Brandon's mother's house, and that Sarah's and Brandon's cell phone data show them at the residence earlier that day. So Sarah Wondra has to put Brandon's mom's address in her phone, even though Brandon Shirtliff is in the vehicle with her and could show her exactly how to get there. And she had already been there earlier that day and still needs to put it in her GPS. Okay. Sarah and Brandon's mother. Okay. Tina Muriel was out of town. Sarah said Tina did not allow Brandon to have people in her home when she was not there. So Sarah and Stacy parked down the road and Brandon used a back gate on the south side to enter Tina's residence so that her doorbell camera did not capture him there. Sarah reported that while towing the car back to Fruitland, the tow strap broke. And we know that Stacy mentions that Sarah went in to pee. We know and have heard that it's been mentioned by Stacy on other channel that Sarah and Stacy stayed in the truck while Brandon went into the house. Brandon said that Sarah stayed in the truck and Stacy came in the house. And we have also heard that Sarah stayed in the truck while Stacy hooked up the tow while Brandon was in the house doing laundry. But she is saying that Sarah and Stacy parked down the road and that Brandon used the back gate on the south side to enter Tina's residence. Lies, lies, and more lies. Said by Stacy, said by Sarah. Stories are changing. Following the interview, remember, she was interviewed again on November 15th. Following the interview on November 15th, 2021, Brandon reported Sarah and Stacy contacted him and told him that they were involved. Sarah and Stacy contacted him and told him that they were re-interviewed with or about Michael's abduction. Brandon and Stacy suggested Brandy come over to their place and create an alibi or write a letter on behalf of Sarah and Stacy saying that they were not involved in Michael's abduction. Let's break that down for just a second. This little bitty paragraph here, Brandon saying that Sarah and Stacy are asking him to write a letter on their behalf, even though Brandon, Sarah, and Stacy drove to Cuna with Michael's body in the bed of the truck, according to Stacy. Brandon is the one that reported following that interview on November 15th, 2021, that Sarah and Stacy contacted him and told him that they were re-interviewed? So there's a conversation between all three of them that they were re-interviewed. And then Brandon says that they wanted him to write a letter. That's what he reported. That's just strange and unusual to me. Strange and unusual when you break shit down. I'm really stuck on that August 21st report by Sarah because it's the same time within 1 day, 2 days, well, 1 day, if it was the 20th, 21st, or the 22nd. And if Adrien Lucienne left on the 21st, since I know it was the 20th, 21st, or 22nd that he left, was it the day that Sarah reported something? I'm just really stuck on this, you guys. I'm really stuck because Adrien Lucienne left very suddenly from Idaho. Sarah and Stacy had his stuff. He had been trying to contact them to get his stuff. He finally got a hold of them and went and got his stuff and left. Like, that's just the way it happened. Ooh, Northern Lights. Sam, I found the timestamp for Brandon telling you his plans for the day 5:55 to 6:25. Does that mention the tow? Because I directly asked him who towed. And we talked about the tow many, many, many times. And he told me it was his idea. And we talk about that tow several times. So I'm just wondering, did you find the timestamp of him actually talking about it being his idea? Thank you for doing that, by the way. Thank you so much. In the live with Brandon. Well, I do have that picked up. Let me see. I'm going to go over and look at it real quick, guys. Let me see. And you say the timestamp was 55. Hold on one second, you guys. Just want to find it real quick. Share my screen here and we'll go take a listen. Okay, here we go. Let's take a listen to what you found.
Not yeah. It was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, what were your plans for that day? I mean, what were you gonna go do?
So my plan for that day is I had one of my cars that broke on me. So my thoughts on the day was to head out and go get a vehicle that needed to have some work done on it.
Okay. And yeah, you had plans to go to your mom's and pick up your car that day.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And way before that, did you, Sarah and Adrien, have plans to go anywhere, do anything?
I think we might have talked about going and doing some shopping, or maybe getting some food, getting out of the house for the day. I know we went over that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you guys did end up leaving the house, and where did you guys head off to?
So earlier.
We'll be coming back to that later, but what I am looking for is the very specific time that I asked Brandon, whose idea was it to tow the vehicle? And we talked about it so many times during that interview. I just could not find it. And he says it was his idea. But in this affidavit, during an interview that law enforcement had with Sarah, she is saying that it was Stacy's idea. So I'm trying to contradict that and just point out that one of the other suspects said something different. Thank you for going and looking. I really do appreciate that so much. I know this is going to sound stupid and most likely insignificant, but what type of road is it that would travel between Fruitland and Tina's? Well, I know they took like a side road. They didn't take they took an interstate to Cuna, and then on the way back, they took like a freeway. So it was like smaller, so that they didn't have to travel at high speeds because they were using a tow rope. Okay. And then I want to go into, let's talk about Sarah's mental health. We've talked about this before, and the affidavit talks about her mental health. First being, following Michael's disappearance, Sarah had a distinct change in behavior. Following Michael's disappearance, this is on page 3 of the probable cause affidavit, Sarah began to stand along the highway near Love's gas station in Ontario, Oregon, with signs stating to repent of your sins and that the end of time was near. Sarah's social media post on TikTok and Facebook also changed drastically to religion and asked for forgiveness of her sins. Prior to Michael's abduction, Sarah had posted only approximately 11 videos on TikTok over 3 years. Following Michael's abduction, Sarah posted approximately 329 videos. So before Michael's abduction, 11. After, 329. From September 15th, 2021 through December 24th, 2021, 329 videos. In TikTok videos Sarah made testimony statements regarding her involvement in criminal behaviors and stated that she had broken all the 10 commandments. It should be noted that thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments. Sarah also alleged in her videos that it did not matter what sins she had committed because God had forgiven her for all of them. Michael's missing persons flyer can be seen on her refrigerator in the background in some of those videos. And we showed that earlier, but there it is again. Moving on to page 4. I'm not going to read this entire paragraph because I am going to be coming back to it later, but it says, Sarah provided 2 reasons. Sarah said they sold their phones because she and Stacy were splitting up, and Sarah said they sold their phones because a demon told her to. Sarah was still paying on the cell phones that she sold. Sarah was asked about her Facebook posts and provided the following responses. I literally had like a demon tell me that I need to leave my husband. I literally deleted all my pictures. I have no idea of what my passwords are. We had a fight. My husband and I had to sell our phones and we had to get new ones. And I can't access any of my stuff. And hold on one second. We'll move on to the rest of this shortly. We're going to be coming back to that paragraph. But there she is saying that she sold their phones because a demon told her to. Because a demon told her to. And on page 4, all the way down at the bottom, when law enforcement met with Sarah on October 12th, 2022, the month prior to law enforcement coming in November of 22 with a search warrant after Stacy Wondra had given a tip. So this is the month prior. Sarah said God told her he was going to help her find the boy. During the interview, at the first mention of Michael's name, or the first mention of Michael, Sarah became emotional and broke down crying in front of the detective. Sarah wrote a testimony and said that if law enforcement read it, they would locate Michael. Sarah suggested God had forgiven Hitler and his sins, and that God had redeemed Sarah from her sins. So now God is talking to her, and God has talked to her before because we've read that affidavit where the Almighty God told me that Stacy did it, that Stacy buried Michael in our backyard, and that Adrien was the one who hurt him. On page 5, more going on with her mental health. On November 5th, 2022, again, this is right before they serve that search warrant and come into the house. Stacy contacted Fruitland Police and requested an interview with Washington County Jail. Stacy provided vague details about an event surrounding Michael's abduction. Stacy said Sarah's religious beliefs and behavior changes started within a couple of days of Michael's abduction. After Stacy's arrest for unrelated incident, Stacy spoke of changing phones and or SIM cards to prevent law enforcement to follow or profile him. So he is even saying that Sarah's religious beliefs and behavior changed and started within just a couple of days of Michael's abduction. And let's talk more about Sarah and abducting people. And her mental health. We've showed all this information before. Stacy Wondra updating his profile picture right after Michael was abducted, sharing things having to do with Michael, links and stuff on his Facebook. Sarah Wondra here, watch out. You are walking into traps. Guard your children. Take it from me. Posted in November 1st, 2021. And that's just 20 days prior to one of her other interviews. Take it from her, she says. That's just weird. Then she's just talking about her taxi service, the taxi service name being changed to Faith Taxi. This is the taxi company that they were running, that so many people have speculated and have, theorized about whether or not this taxi service had anything to do with any kind of trafficking, whether it was rugs or human. And we know in November, that's when they came in to arrest Sarah Wondra. Let me just get... And she was the first person actually arrested and charged with something having to do with Michael's abduction, and that was failing to report a death. And it was later dropped, and I honestly believe that it was dropped because once you get charged with something, they only have a certain amount of time before they have to take you to court, before they have to produce the evidence, because court runs on a timely manner, and they only have a short time to charge you with everything, to talk about everything. And they can come back and charge her with that at a later date because it was without prejudice, which means exactly that. We're not going to charge you for this right now, but we might come back and do it again. Let me share something else with you guys here.
Sarah Wondra was arraigned virtually here at the Payette County Courthouse, accused of failing to report the death of Michael Vaughn for the purpose of concealing the manner in which he died.
I understand what they said is not correct.
I'm just out in front of your house here. Let me show you. Where's Sarah at? She's in custody. You guys arrested her? I guess they did, yeah. Where did they take her?
Sarah Wondra was arraigned virtually.
He's telling the courts that is, she understands what she's been arrested for, but it's not correct. Stacy is FaceTiming with Chris Madonna with, he's in prison. Chris Madonna's at their house. He has served the search warrant. They have spoken to Sarah, and because the Almighty God told her that Stacy did it, and Stacy buried Michael in the backyard, she's put in cuffs for failure to report a death. failure to report a death without prejudice after it was dropped. And yeah, Stacy's reaction, he was not expecting that. He was not expecting to hear Chris Madonna say, oh, damn, she got arrested for that? Like I said, so she was the first one that was arrested. And Sarah had other things going on shortly before Michael was abducted. And I want to talk about it because Sarah was violent. And before I move forward, let me just look through chat real quick because I know I'm covering a lot of information. And when I'm reading and I'm focused, I'm not in chat. So just letting everybody know. But let me see what's going on over here. Sea Star's here. Thank you for being here. Criminal Med is here. Yeah, who would want to call that taxi service, right? You know, I heard somebody that comes into chat, I don't want to name names, but she works at one of the bars or had worked at one of the bars in Fruitland. And customers would have to call taxis at the end of the night, you know, because they're too drunk to drive home and stuff, which is the right thing to do. Don't ever drink and drive. I have actually lost a very good friend to a drinking driving accident. So yeah, they would call that taxi service really because they were the only taxi service around, believe it or not. And the Faith taxi that they ran would quote these people from the bar, you know, a certain price. And then when they came and picked them up, the price went up. The price went up, and now they are scamming drunk people for their money. These people got to get home. They're drunk, so of course they're paying for that taxi service. Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Just some of the scams, some of the stuff. Oh, thank you so much, Wood Chipper. I appreciate that. Yes, please give a thumbs up. Get this out there in the algorithm, please. But it's just crazy that, you know, they're got this taxi service. They're constantly going on these long drives. They're going all the way down to Texas, supposedly to either pick up or drop off a puppy. They're traveling all over Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, traveling the I-84 corridor and going into Portland. I mean, it's just crazy. What were they doing? What were they doing? I want to share something I went over in another live. Actually, I went over it in another live, but I also made a short that I want to share because this is important. Because Sarah Wondra and her violent temper, here's this incident report. Let's take a listen.
Everybody, it's Samantha from Missing PNW. Here is another incident report. Fruitland Police Department. It was cleared on 7/26 of 2021. The date it was reported was 7/24/2020.
Did you guys hear the date? 7/26/2021. This is the day before Michael is abducted.
2021. So just 3 days before Michael's abduction. Let's see, the incident again was at 1102 Red Wing Street. It was reported on a 911 phone call. And here it says incident detail on July.
Wait, let me go back. 3 days before. So the date that it was reported was 3 days prior to Michael's abduction. And then the date that the incident was cleared was the day before Michael's abduction, just to clarify.
25th, 2021 at about 12:29 a.m. So this is early morning. Fruitland police officers were advised by Payette County Dispatch to call the phone number Pizza Hut in regards to an incident that took place at 1102 Red Wing Street in the city of Fruitland, Payette County, Idaho. Okay, so the suspect here is Sarah Wondra, and then it lists her address at Red Wing Street. And then the person that reported this was Jaden Garcia. The incident report was written by Castro Elazar, written 7/25/2021. On July 24th, 2021 at about 12:29 a.m., Fruitland police officers were advised by Payette County Dispatch to call Pizza Hut in reports of an incident that took place at 1102 Red Wing Street, city of Fruitland, Payette County, Idaho. Dispatch advised that Jason Garcia, whom is the pizza delivery for Pizza Hut, had delivered pizza at 1102 Red Wing Street. Dispatch said the owner of 1102 Red Wing Street residents threatened to shoot him because the owner thought Jaden was trying to break into the home. I called Jaden via landline. Jaden said he delivered pizza to 1102 Red Wing Street. Jaden stated he did not ring the doorbell but opened her screen door so that he could knock on her wooden door. Jaden said a female named Sarah Wondra came, opened the door very angry, and told him to quit trying to break into their house. Jaden said he gave her the pizza she delivered and left. Jaden said as soon as he called his boss to let him know of the situation, Sarah called Pizza Hut to make a complaint about him. Jaden said she made a comment stating if somebody tries to break in her home, she will shoot them. Jaden said he simply wanted his incident documented and wanted me to speak to Sarah in regards of it. On July 25th at about 4:35 p.m., I went over to 1102 Red Wing Street. I knocked at the front door of the house. A female answered the door. I asked for Sarah Wondra. She said it was her. I asked Sarah what had occurred. Sarah said she had ordered a pizza from Pizza Hut and the pizza delivery guy, Jaden, attempted to open her front door. Sarah said he had tried to do it before. I told Sarah he had opened the screen door but not her actual front door. I also asked Sarah if the threatened to shoot delivery people. Sarah said she never threatened them but made a comment to them about if people try and break into homes, people can get shot. I told Sarah that her comment made Pizza Hut concerned. She said she would never shoot anyone for delivering pizza. So here you basically just have the investigator's name and then the date that it was cleared on 7/26 of 2021. This pizza guy actually felt threatened. So he, called 911 and reported it. And was Sarah really, threatening to shoot a pizza delivery guy? I mean, let's face it, the day prior or 2 days prior to Michael's abductions, Sarah is outside in front of the garage out there on the concrete, rolling around, looking at the sky, talking to God. Her mental health wasn't doing well.
I later found out that her laying around in in their driveway and everything happened later after Michael's abduction, so I kind of got that wrong. But yeah, here is Sarah Wondra threatening to shoot a pizza guy because he opens the screen door and knocks on the wooden door instead of ringing the doorbell when they order pizza just a few days before Michael's abduction. And don't forget, she's currently serving time now for assault. She held a GUN to Tanner Butler's head. Very, very violent person. A very violent person. I thought I had another one. Hold on one second. I know I have another one. I think I accidentally deleted it. Hold on. Only take me a second. Here it is. Okay, let me share my screen again. I just want to look over in comments to see what everybody's saying. Again, a lot of really weird stuff happens at the Wondra's house. It really does. Yeah, there seemed to be some tension going on in the house. Amped up, maybe? Yeah. Chat is just flying by tonight. Thank you guys all for being here. Let me share my screen so I can show you guys another incident. Sarah calls the police. Listen to this. We've been talking about scams going on, and I'm actually wondering if this was another one of Sarah and Stacy, and all of their like scam things. And this happened again shortly before Michael's abduction. This was just a week prior on, I believe it says the 18th. It's either the 16th or the 18th. I can't read it well.
An incident report, because I think it's really important to know what was going on prior to Michael's disappearance. So this incident was cleared 7/19 of 2021, but the date that this incident was reported was 7/18/2021. The address was at 1102 Red Wing, and it was reported by phone. It was about abandoned vehicle on July 18th, 2021 at about 7:28 p.m. I was dispatched to 1102 Red Ring Street in Fruitland, Payette County, Idaho, to meet with Sarah Wondra. I arrived and spoke with Sarah in her driveway at about 7:30 p.m. The agency was Fruitland Police Department. It was a civil problem. Auto weapon indicator, no. So here it just mentions again that it's a civil problem. Auto weapon indicator, no. One of the parties named Sarah Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street. And then this happened, let's see, that is her birthday. And then a man's name with the last name Sophie from Seattle, Washington. So again, date reported 7/18/2021. It gives a license plate number, Washington State, and the vehicle ID number. The narrative was written here by Tyler Wooten, and it was written on 7/18/2021. And it says, on July 18th, 2021, about 7:28 p.m., I was dispatched to 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland, Payette County, Idaho, to meet with Sarah Wondra. I arrived and spoke with Sarah in her driveway at about 7:34 p.m. Sarah explained her business is a mobile mechanic business, and they towed the green Volkswagen Washington registration number and then the plates, which was parked in front of the house. She said the owner of the car, Sophie, gave them a sad story, so they agreed to work on his vehicle. She said Sophie purchased the parts needed, but when they began working on it, they realized they were the wrong parts. Sarah further explained the communication with Sophie was difficult and he owed them money. She said she already talked to a tow company to remove the vehicle, but they needed the police department to tag it for tow first. She asked me to tag it and said she was going to put a lien on the vehicle. I explained to her I needed to go back to the Fruitland Police Department to get the tag, and then I would tag it. So it looks as though Sarah was calling to get this car towed. But here, he does want to speak to officers. The officer says, as I was leaving Sarah's house, dispatched advised me Sophie was requesting to speak with an officer. I returned to the office and called Sophie. Sophie explained he and his wife were traveling through and they broke down. He said he got in contact with Sarah's business. The business towed his vehicle to Sarah's house. He purchased the necessary parts. He provided the parts to Sarah, and he was told the work would be done on Saturday. Sophie continued to explain what seemed to be a lot of miscommunication between him and Sarah, and he said he needed his car and medication out of it for his sick wife. I called Sarah and informed her what Sophie had told me. She said Sophie owed $200. And then about 8:30 p.m., Sophie came to the police department. I called Sarah and she said it was fine for Sophie to come get his car. He followed me to Sarah's, paid the $200, and got his vehicle without further incident. The case status is cleared, and date approved was 7/19/2021. Okay, so you have this couple that.
So basically, long story short, they helped another person by helping them tow the vehicle to their house. The person from Washington bought a part for the car so they could fix it. It was the wrong part. The man didn't have any way of moving it from their house, and Sarah still wanted the $200. I don't know if they ended up getting a new part and then fixing it or not, but she's calling the police. She's wanting them to come tag the car so that she can call the tow company to tow it from in front of their house. And the man pays them the $200. And this is, again, right before Michael's abduction. It's just weird shit. Just a lot of weird, crazy stuff going on going on. That is for sure, shortly before Michael's abduction. Now, suspicious behavior that I found in this probable cause affidavit, really having to do a lot with Sarah, some with Stacy, or them both, that I want to go over. First one is on page 4 of the affidavit. Sarah and Stacy Wondra sold their phones, lost or sold their vehicles, and got rid of their furniture shortly after Monkey went missing. They sold their phones, lost or sold their vehicles. I want to know, like, this lost thing. Like, how did they lose their car? Lost or sold their vehicle and got rid of their furniture shortly after Monkey went missing. And there's talk in this affidavit about Stacy and Sarah handing a dog toy for Michael to play with as he's sitting on their couch in their home. So they're getting rid of furniture. Sarah was asked about changing her phones following Michael's abduction. Sarah provided 2 reasons, and we talked about her saying that the demon told her to. And she says, I have no idea of what my passwords are about her phones and her social media that we talked about earlier. When asked about the vehicles Sarah and Stacy have, Sarah said the GMC pickup was repossessed. Sarah said they sold Stacy, or told Stacy, when they heard the repo guys were coming to take the truck, we are going to be the nicest repo they've ever had today. So they were looking forward to getting rid of the GMC. And we all know why. Because they had put Monkey in the GMC. According to this affidavit, he was put in a duffel bag, put in the bed of the truck, and taken to Kuna. So here she is, basically saying, we're going to be the nicest repo they have ever had today. Because people are usually quite pissed off when someone's coming to repo their car. They're not. They're happy about it. They want it gone. Law enforcement was later told that the truck appeared to have been thoroughly cleaned prior to the repo. And we know Sarah and Stacy are slobs. We heard from another guy we're going to hear about on a different subject, Andrew. Justin and I kind of interviewed him when he came on to Justin's panel at Clutch Them Pearls. He invited me over. We're talking with him. He knew Sarah and Stacy. He worked with Stacy. He by all means said, I wouldn't even believe that that car was clean. No way. And we're like, oh yeah, it was spotless. He just said that their cars, their vehicles, you know, what Stacy drove, always had fast food, garbage, cups, all kinds of whatever garbage throughout their vehicles. So the fact that this tow company or this repo company is saying that it appeared to have been thoroughly cleaned prior to the repo is huge, because they're cleaning up their mess and they're getting rid of their phones. They're selling and losing vehicles. They're selling furniture. On page 7 of the affidavit, at various interviews after the disappearance of Michael Vaughn, Sorry, I'm so used to calling him Monkey. Stacy was asked what happened to his and Sarah's cell phones from July of 2021. July is the month that Michael was abducted. Stacy and Sarah wanted to distract attentions. So now they're distracting attentions. So we are not on the radar. And that was the reason they sold the phones. And we've also heard here that Sarah was still paying for her phones. On page 4 of the affidavit, it said Sarah was asked about changing her phones following Michael's abduction. Sarah provided 2 reasons. Up at the top, Sarah and Stacy Wondra sold their phones, lost or sold their vehicles, got rid of furniture. She was asked about the phones. Sarah was still paying for the phones after she sold them. So she has sold these phones, but she's still paying for the phones. And back to page 7, when asked if there was evidence of the crime on these phones, Stacy said there were text messages. So Stacy is saying on these phones there are text messages having to do with Monkey's abduction because it can be used as evidence. Investigation revealed that the Wondras changed their phones approximately 3 times in a 5-month period. 3 times. Stacy described purchasing SIM cards to put in his cell phone to evade law enforcement. The GMC pickup was subsequently repossessed for non-payment. Stacy called Jim's Cars, wanting the truck back or to borrow it. He also told them, hurry up and sell it. Stacy further advised that they sold the Lexus that they had at the time of Michael Vaughn was abducted. So the Lexus that he drove to the splash pad and drove on the day that Michael Vaughn disappeared, they sold. Within a few weeks of Michael's disappearance, the Wondras' iCloud data revealed Stacy and Sarah searched for rental houses in their states, financial assistance in different areas. Additionally, a photo of items boxed up was taken on July 30th, 2021. 3 days after Michael's abduction, they are packing their stuff, they're making phone calls, and they're looking to move. 2 days later was the first time they were interviewed. Then on page 6, it should be noted that during some part of Stacy's interaction in the Washington County Jail prior to his confession and directions to where Michael's body was, Sarah was out of custody and living back at the house on Red Wing Street, as evidenced by her being there when law enforcement arrived to execute the search warrant. Sarah could have had time and ability to move any evidence from the property without Stacy's knowledge. She also could have had time to move Monkey or to get Brandon's help to move Monkey out of the back door or backyard. We know that Michael was once buried in the Wondras' yard, and he was later moved to an unknown location. And this is saying that Sarah was out of custody and living back at the house, she could have had time and ability to move any evidence from the property without Stacy's knowledge. And we know that she was moving furniture out of the house, and she was getting a storage unit and moving stuff out of the house, and her mom was even helping with that storage unit, still helps her with that storage unit. Stuff is still in the storage unit. In June of 2022, Sarah called Kay Ramsey from jail and spoke about spouses being able to testify against each other. In a recorded phone call from the Washington County Jail to Sarah, Stacy expressed concern that Sarah was going to turn on him. Why was Stacy expressing to Sarah that she was going to turn on him? Turn on him for what? They keep saying they don't have anything to do with it. We have Stacy telling the world what happened. We don't know what he says is true and what's not true. Him and Sarah and Brandon and Adrien, they're all for throwing each other under the bus. But in this jail phone conversation, he has expressed concern that Sarah was going to turn on Stacy. Sarah confirmed that Stacy was referring to Michael Vaughn. Sarah told Stacy that she had already told her attorney that she wasn't going to turn on him. So now we have Sarah telling her attorney, I'm not going to turn on Stacy. And this whole paragraph is huge because it's in a recording by Washington County Jail. A conversation that Sarah and Stacy had. She tells her attorney she's not going to turn on him. So Stacy's feeling better about the situation because she's told him, you know, I've already told my attorney I'm not going to turn on you. Stacy, and that she wasn't going to testify against Stacy. Stacy then reassured Sarah he'd never testify against her. So she's talking to her mom, talking about testifying. Excuse me for just one second. She's talking to her mom. She's talking about whether or not or how married couples can or can't testify against each other. Then there's a phone conversation between Stacy and Sarah, concerned that each one of them is going to turn on each other. Well, now their divorce is in default. The clerk has declared it default, and their divorce is going to go through, I'm pretty sure, soon. So if any of that even matters, they probably won't be married soon. And from what I hear in Idaho, you can testify against your spouse, apparently. But either way, they're both worried that each other's going to turn on one another. Imagine that. Imagine that. And they're worried about it, and they're talking about it. And the key part here to all of that was that Sarah confirmed that Stacy was referring to Michael Vaughn in this little bitty, tiny little paragraph on page 6 of the affidavit. A recorded conversation about Sarah and Stacy turning on each other, and Sarah confirms that Stacy was referring to Michael Vaughn. So we don't just have Stacy saying that they have involvement in Michael Vaughn's abduction. We have Sarah also confirming it in a way here, correct? Right? Stacy's expressing concern that Sarah's going to turn on him. She confirms that Stacy was referring to Michael Vaughn. What's there to turn on in the Michael Vaughn case or abduction or murder if you don't have anything to do with it? And let's just talk about Michael's abduction and talk about Sarah Wondra and her fantasies to abduction. Yes, Callie, thank you so much. Boom. I thought the same thing. I'm reading this and I'm like, in this little bitty, tiny, little bitty section of this 7-page affidavit, there is a conversation between both of them that's recorded about them turning on each other regarding Michael Vaughn. Boom, shakalaka. It's crazy to me. Thumbs up, 157, and we got 208 people in the house. Go give a thumbs up. Get this out in the algorithm. Right? Red flags, going up everywhere. Like I said, you guys, I'm sorry I don't get to chat when I'm reading. I get all into what I'm doing, and I am dealing, like, I had to print out this affidavit. So when I'm going through it, I've got 7 sheets of paper laid all across my table. I'm over here, I'm over there, I'm picking up paperwork. I had to number my paperwork, so it gets kind of crazy, and I just don't pay attention what's going on in chat. That's what my moderators are for. God bless them for doing what they do. All right. So the abduction of Michael Vaughn. In this affidavit, Stacy and Brandon were to follow her lead. Why? Why is that? Why are they following the lead of Sarah Wondra? Because Sarah Wondra has had fantasies of abducting, kidnapping people, according to people that have came out of the woodworks. One is her ex-husband, another is a friend just recently that not only told us about a conversation that she had about abducting somebody, but how she got violent with Adrien Lucienne and put Adrien Lucienne in the house in the spring of 2021, when none of these suspects seem to want to say when Adrien actually got there. Why is that? Do they not want to start a bigger investigation, not only into their taxi business, but more scams, more stuff? The longer that Adrien was there, I feel like the more bad things they would have been doing together, the more scams they would have been doing. They were already doing so many scams as it was. I'm sure law enforcement's looked into it, though, because they have like this time frame that they believe that Adrien was there. But now we've got somebody confirming more information. Actually, that is semi-false about the testifying against the spouse. See, I've heard both. I have heard that spouses can't in Idaho, and then I've heard spouses can in Idaho. And then I've heard if they get a divorce that they can. And every time I look into it, it confuses me. All I know is that Sarah Wondra and Stacy Wondra are kind of excited that this divorce is about to be finalized because they'll be able to testify against one another. And that's them being excited. You can be compelled to testify against your spouse in Idaho, but you generally have the right to refuse to testify against them in criminal cases unless on exception applies. Well, let's just thank God that divorce is going through, because then none of that will come into play, I think. The spousal testimony privilege can be overcome in situations like domestic violence, abuse, and other criminal or crimes against a spouse or their children. In such cases, the privilege does not apply. You are a sweetheart for looking that up. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to watch and listen to Sarah Wondra's ex, who said Sarah Wondra had fantasies about kidnapping people. And this was over 12 years ago, you guys.
I can't hear you yet, but I need. Do you want to find your device?
Interviewed. I was spoken to. I can't remember the detective's name, but she spoke with me and told me about a 6-year-old boy that went missing, and she told me his name was Michael Vaughn, and I didn't know anything about it. What she called me for was simply to get information about Sarah.
Okay, and I don't want you to say anything that could be detrimental to the case or anything like that, but were you able to provide them with anything?
Yes, sir.
So let me just ask you, can I ask you about Sarah a little bit?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And I just want to give credit to Josh from the lab for this. This guy, Wolf Chambers, Sarah Wandra's ex-husband, just showed up in chat talking, and Josh throws him up to talk to him and has this conversation.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you coming up here, and so does everybody that's watching here.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a little bit about so you don't know Stacy, but how long were you married to Sarah?
Briefly, it was like 6 months.
Okay, 6 months. And where are you from? Idaho as well?
No, sir. I was married to her when I lived in Texas.
Okay, because there was talk of her going to Texas.
Right.
Yeah. So okay. So ultimately 6 months. How long were you guys together before that?
On and off, we knew each other for about 2 years.
Okay, and then you got married, and obviously no kids. I'm
No,
assuming
sir.
you didn't get your nuts crushed by a bull.
No. I actually have a son and a daughter, so my nuts are just fine.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So
thank you, sir.
If you don't mind, what ultimately led to the divorce?
Well, she had a meltdown about me not being able to give her any children because I wasn't trying to. And basically, she had me incarcerated under false accusations. And so I basically told her, I want you gone. I want a divorce. And inevitably, that's what happened.
And is that something you guys fought about a lot?
Well, our marriage was only 6 months, but no, sir, it wasn't a lot of fighting.
Yeah. So what she wanted you to give her a kid. Same thing that you heard. And what is it? She just wanted to be a mother. I mean, was that it?
Can one of the moderators get Josh's link and put it up, please? I'd appreciate it.
She had a daughter when she was 17 years old. The story she told me, I cannot confirm this to be true. I can only say what she told me. She said Ed and Kay Ramsey made her give her child up for divorce because they were not going to take care of her and her daughter.
Oh, you mean for adoption?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can't confirm, but what she told you is that at one time she did have a child.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but and you can't confirm that, and so let's just make that clear. And that she was forced to give up the daughter for adoption. Her parents made her do that?
Yes, sir. Her adoptive parents.
Okay. And do you know how old she was when that?
So here we're finding out that Sarah was adopted and that Sarah allegedly told her ex that she had gotten pregnant, had a baby, and that Kay and her husband had made her give her baby up for adoption.
Allegedly happened?
17.
Okay. Was she very religious?
No, absolutely not.
So here her ex-husband saying that Sarah was not religious. And according to this affidavit, we hear that, right? We hear in this affidavit that Sarah Wondra was not religious prior to Michael's abduction, but afterwards becomes very obsessed with the religion and even becomes more obsessed with posting videos and everything else from 11 up to 329 from September 15th to December 2024, right after Michael's abduction.
So,
This
so
is
that
all
was kind of
new.
new. Okay, I got you. That's all
Yes,
new.
sir. Very new.
Okay. You think she's capable of what she's been accused of?
It's funny you asked me that because the detective did ask me what I thought about it. And I said, when it comes to kidnapping, yes, she is capable of it. I don't know if she's capable of murder. I can't say that she is.
She ever talk about kidnapping?
Yes.
With you,
That's one
she
of the
did?
things that that's one of the things that
Do you see the look on Josh's face? He just like, what? What did he just say? Shocked. Sarah Wondra talked about kidnapping.
led to me saying "C'est la vie."
So she wants.
And her husband, ex-husband, is saying it's one of the things that led him to leave Sarah Wondra was her wanting to kidnap people.
Wanted to kidnap a kid.
No. She just talked about kidnapping in general, never anything about children.
Wow. And what would she say?
Oh, well, she would talk about mainly just, how it would be interesting to have someone to go into some stranger's house and basically take control of them, be able to tie them up. And I told her, I said, you need to seek professional help. That's not normal.
And we heard and talked about it several times and even see it in this affidavit that Sarah, Stacy, and Brandon were to follow her lead. She's in control. She's the queen bee in that house. She's sleeping with Stacy. She's sleeping with Brandon. She's sleeping with Adrien. She's controlling everything. And we hear from Andrew when Justin and I interviewed him that she got pissed off when it wasn't her idea. Or she'd get pissed off just about anything that happened. And would even get violent.
Wow. I mean,
Josh
that is, yeah, you're right. That's not normal. And you just must, I mean, were you just shocked by that?
I was scared by that.
I was scared by that. And we heard Andrew, when we interviewed him the other day, about how he was scared to death. He got up and ran out of the house. Not only because Sarah's talking about kidnapping again, but because she got violent with Adrien Lucienne on the couch. And we'll get into that in just a moment.
And was this towards the end of your marriage?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that she would cover up an accident? Like say something went wrong and when they were kidnapping Michael, and say it was an intentional homicide or whatever, say it wasn't that. Could you see her covering that up?
Yes, sir.
She ever abusive towards you?
Yes, sir.
So, because I've heard reports that she would hit Stacy with like pots and pans and things like that.
I've been beaten by that woman before.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't want to get.
And we also hear from Andrew that he witnessed Sarah hitting Stacy with a pan when he was there. And that it took a minute, for Stacy to kind of come out of it. But as she had done something to Adrien and to Stacy, neither of them confront Sarah about what she just did. Like it was just something friggin' normal in the house. It was just normal that Sarah would just hit people.
I don't want to seem agitated or anything, but I'd rather not talk about it. It's just not something I want.
I mean, Wolf Chambers, this ex-husband, I mean, that's not his real name, but he doesn't even want to talk about the abuse he went through with Sarah. But he's definitely saying, we've heard Stacey Wondra talking about her taking a shot, GUN, to him in their bedroom. And he has talked about her abusing him several times. Thank you, Josh, from the lab. It was such a great interview. And there she is, again, talking about wanting to kidnap people, tying them up, taking control over them, and then what? That's what I want to know. And then what? I'm Wolf Chambers. Oh, wow. Hi, DSBD. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for that interview with Josh, because it's huge. It's a huge piece of information in this case to hear by others that have known Sarah to say, you know, she talked about kidnapping other people, and then here she is a suspect in Michael Vaughn's abduction and unaliving. I didn't do it for me. I did it for Michael. And we appreciate that so, so much. Thank you. You don't even know. And I don't know if you've seen it either, but another one of their friends says the exact same thing that you got up on Josh's panel and talked about it. Let me share my screen again and show you. Okay. I don't know if you've already seen this or not, but again, it's somebody else not only talking about Sarah being violent, but Sarah talking about kidnapping.
Tone into, and especially when it's violence, you're like, and now I know she's violent, I want to kind of hear it. Well, she starts talking to him and she starts telling him, you know what I've always wanted to do? And again, now I know it's relevant. But she was like, I've always thought about kidnapping somebody. Like, what do you think that'd be difficult? And that was like,
you see Justin's reaction. He's all holding on to the arms of his couch. Andrew here wanted to come up on Justin's panel, tell everybody, you know, how things were in the house at the Wondras, because he worked with Stacy and he went over there. Prior to this, he just said that Sarah was sitting on the couch. Later to find out she's sitting on the couch with Adrien Lucienne. He's saying this was in the spring prior to Michael's abduction. And he's saying that she's talking to Adrien about kidnapping somebody.
You're not the only person that's ever said that.
Really?
You're not.
Her ex-husband, we have spoken to, and he said the same thing. She wanted to kidnap someone.
Yeah.
He actually left her because of that fantasy. She wouldn't let it go, and he was done with her. He left her because of it.
Well, I'm glad he got out, to be honest, because without all the extra stuff of this case, just knowing Sarah pre this, that she's a dangerous woman. Like I really truly believe in my heart that she is evil. Like the stuff that I've just seen, the stuff that I hear her say, her demeanor with people, always upset. There's never happiness, you know. And then again, fast forward to now when I'm hearing her talk about kidnapping, regular people don't talk like that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't joke about kidnapping or hurting people. That's just not,
Yeah.
that's not a thing.
She was the one who came, and according to the affidavit, she's the one who brought Michael into the house, like had him physically, took him, brought him in the house. So,
Gotcha.
And the others just absolutely folded. You know, they didn't do the right thing, and they participated. And you know, someone comes into the house with a 5-year-old that you have no idea, and you don't say nothing, like you're dumb. No.
And you know, I just want to be the devil's advocate in this situation. Like, and just in my opinion, again, I know that I'm physically stronger than Sarah, but the thing is like, even for me, it doesn't matter who it is, right? It's, you got to understand, when you see a woman talking like this, hitting a husband in front of strangers, and then let me continue on because it actually gets
please
more. It starts to get worse. And so, so she's talking to this gentleman about kidnapping people. And when she said that to him, it kind of was like, it's almost like he went along with it, but it didn't seem like he was passionate about it like she was. Like, oh.
It was almost like he went along with it. And later on, we find out he's talking about Adrien Lucienne. He didn't seem to be as passionate about it as Sarah, but he went along with it. What?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Or, yeah, that's kind of crazy. You know, and then this was what the straw that broke the camel's back for me and never had me come back. Was after he had said that, I'm not sure if she took his response as like an out of tone or whatever, but she pulls a gun from the side of the couch and pistol whips him in the head. And this is like, I mean, I don't know her relationship with him, but to me, this is again like her being extremely violent to strangers. Again, I don't know what her relationship was him, but that was like, I thought I was going to get killed in that house. And, or excuse me, unalive. I'm sorry. That situation you're never prepared for.
So he is scared to death. He's getting out of that house. Here Sarah is again with a GUN, not pulling it on the pizza guy, not hitting or not pointing it at Tanner Butler's head, but pistol whipping Adrien Lucienne on the couch. And it goes on to say Adrien did nothing. Just like, what did you do that for? That was pretty much it. Adrien ain't going to confront her on that because he knows he ain't got nowhere to go if she makes him leave. And if she's queen bee, and, you know, it's her way or no way. He described her hitting Stacy in the face with a pot or pan really hard, the way he describes it. Stacy comes out of almost from being unconscious, you know, from the sounds of it. And he doesn't do anything or confront her or say anything. He said that both of them, during both of these incidences, Adrien and Stacy just kind of like move on from the situation and don't do anything. And I really think it's because Sarah would have just flipped out even more. There just would have been more conflict, more whatever. So yes, now 2 people have heard her speak of kidnapping C-Star. Yes. I believe Kay knows. I think that's why she moved the tricycle after Michael Vaughn's abduction. That's mentioned in this affidavit, and it's even mentioned in this affidavit that they know that tricycle wasn't moved prior to Michael's abduction. So why is Kay's handprints on it? Why is Kay's handprints on it? I believe that Brandon does know exactly where Monkey is. I know. Isn't it just so much strange and unusual behavior? So Wolf Chambers is in the house. That's Sarah Wandra's ex-husband is here. He also was the other man that said that Sarah talked about kidnapping. My thing is, and then what? So she fantasized about kidnapping people. What did she want to do after that? Like, did she want to hurt them and harm them? What was she going to do? Kidnap people, tie them up, and then just turn around and walk out of the house after they've seen her face? Like, did the fantasy ever, like, continue in any way? And maybe you can answer that since you're here in the house and chat. Like, did she ever talk about what she would do after she kidnapped the person? Or was it just complete and total control that she wanted? Because we know Sarah loved control. Why do men like the wacky ones? Why do us women like the wacky ones? We all like wacky, right? I don't know. Just trying to be funny. Oh, yep. Kay knows. Kay knows something. Sorry, I'm just going. He's just confirming here, this is Sarah Wandra's ex-husband, that she was extremely controlling person. An extremely controlling person. So maybe it was for her just about, getting off on control. She never said anything about murder or harm. Apparently she's changed after all these years. Yeah. I bet you after this probable cause affidavit has came out, you're kind of sitting back going like, damn. Which I have posted up that probable cause affidavit. If you don't have it, you can download it from here at the community so that you can read it for yourself. We're actually going to talk about Sarah being the mastermind in all of this now. We're going to go over some stuff here in the affidavit. This is one of the last things we're going to go over in the affidavit. Do you have anything that you would like to say? Do you want me to throw up a link so you can come up, hun? You're more than welcome to come up on panel and talk if you'd like to. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so let me see. That's totally fine. Thank you so much for what you've already done. I just didn't know if you had saw the affidavit and maybe had something else to say, but all you got to do is go to my YouTube channel and hit in that community or in my posts, and you'll see that I posted that today. So go ahead and download all 7 pages. It's right there for you if you want to read it. All right. I really need everybody to, or any of the moderators, please throw up some trigger warning. Please, I want you guys to protect your mental health. We're about to go over some of the worst parts about this affidavit and Sarah having the involvement that she did in this. Let's try not to talk about other creators in chat, please. I would really, really appreciate that. Even though I agree, just let's try not to talk about other creators in a negative way in chat, please. Okay. Excuse me. So, Sarah then said, this is page 5 of the affidavit, that Stacy then said, when he first saw Michael, Sarah was carrying Michael. So we are hearing again, Stacy is stating that Sarah came in with Michael. And I have heard Stacy in a recording say long ago that Sarah came into the house with Michael on her hip. So this was huge for me to see because he has said this information before. Carrying Michael into their home. Stacy said Michael was put, please, trigger warning. Stacy said Michael was put into a duffel bag to transport him out of their house and to Brandon's house in Cuna. Stacy and Sarah said Stacy said Sarah was frantic. So Sarah is frantic. And I want to play something from a clip from Brandon Shurtleff. I have to find the timestamp now. Dang it. Hold on. Because I had it. This is, okay. Here we go.
It's like a 50-50 call right there.
Okay. Was there any kind of like argument or altercations or anything between anybody before you guys left to go get your car from your mom's?
There might have been a little bit of arguing going back and forth, but nothing too major, no.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm sorry, I'm just kind of, I want to walk you through. So he's saying that there was some kind of argument when, or at the time, they're at the house before they go to Cuna. And here recently, hold on, pulling something else up that I just remember that I had. So he mentions there that there could have been a little one. And then there's this. What was your first recollection of like ever meeting Adrien?
One night when Sarah went and did a taxi run, and then she brought him over from wherever she picked him up from on one of her rides, and then she she's like, okay, where do you want to go? Where do you want to hang out for the day? And then he's like, well, I don't know if I can because my baby mama's schedule is this, that, whatever. And then he ended up like hanging out with us for a couple days, and then I'm pretty sure Sarah and Stacy were like, well, if you want, you could probably hang out over here and help us with our taxi runs or do.
First of all, in this, it says that he's saying that Sarah and Stacy told Adrien that he could help out with the taxi runs. Even though we've heard Stacy, even though he was never asked, he just said something like, and Adrien was not allowed to, use the taxis. But just going to keep watching, because listen to what he said happened there at the house.
Work or this or that, and that would be why he probably ended up staying a little bit longer than he planned, is what I would say. But then everyone started fighting, and then he's just like, that's it, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But then everybody started fighting, and he's like, yeah, gotta go. Well, what were they fighting about?
I'm sure there were some pretty heated conversations, after Michael's abduction.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying...
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there were some heated discussions after Michael's abduction. Oh, yeah. Like he just freely admits it right then. So it says Sarah was frantic, trying to figure out what to do. And Brandon interjected, I have a duffel bag. Trigger warning, you guys. This is not going to be good. Stacy described Michael as crying, and to prevent him from moving and making noise, Stacy described how Sarah taped Michael using duct tape. Sarah taped Michael with duct tape, according to Stacy. Stacy and Brandon were to follow her lead. It was to kidnap a kid. Take the kid. Now she's duct taping Michael. When asked who put Michael in the bag, Stacy said Brandon grabbed the bag and gave it to Sarah. So Brandon grabbed the bag and handed it to Sarah because Sarah is controlling. Sarah was in control of the situation. Even though she was panicked and frantic trying to figure out what to do, Brandon's trying to save the day and handing Sarah a duffel bag. Sarah picked up Michael. So Sarah taped up Michael with duct tape, and now she's the one who has picked him up. And Adrien helped hold the sides of the bag open as they shoved Michael in the duffel bag. And I noticed that it says as they shoved Michael. So who was putting him in the duffel bag besides Sarah? Sarah's picked him up. Somebody else was helping put him in the duffel bag. Stacy describes Michael as wiggling and trying to get away. Stacy said he could see Michael in the bag with his knees bent up. I'm not going to continue reading this. I'm going to look forward to see what else Sarah's involvement was, since that's who we're talking about. Because I can't, you guys. I just can't. And it doesn't say anything else about Sarah after that. Then they towed Brandon's car, this is still on page 5 of the probable cause affidavit, back to Fruitland. So they put Michael in the truck, in the duffel bag, in the bed of the truck. They pulled over to the side of the road so that Brandon could get out and check on Monkey. Because according to this, I'm just going to paraphrase. Let me read real quick. That all happened in the living room. Stacy provided 2 reasons why they stopped on the side of 8th in Arizona. He said to put power steering in, and so Brandon could check to see if Michael was still alive, because Michael was bound with duct tape and stuffed into the duffel bag in the bed of the truck. Stacy said he was able to hear Michael making noises. They then towed Brandon's car back. So they get to Cuna. They get the car. It said that Brandon took a backpack and Michael in the duffel bag into the house. Let's hear that real quick. Sorry, you guys. Trigger warning. This is so difficult, and I know it is.
You guys, when you came back, why did you come back here?
Did you guys, when you guys came back, why did you guys come back here?
What do you mean, came back there?
Yeah, I mean, like the next day, like you shared with us that, Brandon put him in the guest room, bound up, but then the next.
You shared with us that Brandon put him in the spare room at his mom's house, bound up. And I even thought that Brandon had bound him up. But in this affidavit, Sarah was the one who bound him up. And they never even get him out of the duffel bag when they get to Cuna, because apparently Monkey had passed, but they didn't even check. Brandon goes in and puts him in the spare room, taking the duffel bag and a backpack in the house.
Next day, they moved him back here. Why?
That's a great question. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for that.
What vehicle did they use?
She left me with a Lexus, I believe, that day. So it would have been her vehicle.
But they're getting rid of the Lexus and they're getting rid of the GMC. Those are the 2 vehicles they got rid of. And he's saying that they went back the next day in her blue Toyota and picked up Michael and brought his body back to Fruitland. Apparently, I believe, in my personal opinion, they went back and got Michael and brought him back because Brandon was freaking out that Michael was dead in his mom's house. But you also have Chris Madonna wanting to know, like, why did they go get him and bring him back here? Like, why would you bring him back into the neighborhood from which he was abducted from? I'm glad they were stupid, but who does that? There's helicopters flying around. There's all kinds of people looking for Monkey, and they're bringing him back into that neighborhood. And it says on page 5 of this affidavit, and then towed Brandon's car back to Fruitland. Stacy said that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrien went to Cuna the next day to get Michael. The three of them brought Michael's body back to their house in Fruitland. He stated that he was inside. Brandon was on guard, and Sarah and Adrien dug the hole together. Stacy reported he did not previously report this information because he thought he would still get into trouble and because he was fearful of Sarah hurting him. And we've talked about her violence. He said he was scared that Sarah would hurt him. To me, that really doesn't friggin' matter to me. Like, you do what you got to do if you don't have any involvement, but Stacy does have involvement. I think he was involved just like all of the others and knew what was going to go down, just like I believe Brandon knew what was going to go down because he's out wandering in the neighborhood right as Michael Vaughn is out wandering in the neighborhood. Same exact time. Same exact time. Additionally, Stacy stated that the idea to take a child to sell for money was Adrien's and that they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacy was asked if Sarah provided any direction throughout the part of this. Stacy said that Sarah asked him and Brandon to follow her lead, which was to take a kid. On page 5, Stacy then said that when he first saw Michael, Sarah was carrying Michael into the home. Follow her lead, which was to take a kid, on page 6. Stacy recalled that most of the conversation at that point was Sarah trying to figure out what they were going to do. So there's panic. It said in here that Sarah is frantic. According to Brandon, there's arguing and fighting going on. Everybody is in a panic. They're freaking the frig out. Sarah was trying to figure out what they were going to do. Sarah had asked Brandon, why is Sarah the one trying to figure out what they're going to do? Follow her lead, which was to take a child. Adrien and Sarah are on an app the day that Adrien shows up, and they're looking at ways to scam to make money. Talking about ladies of the night, human trafficking. Stacy's trying to deny that he had anything to do with it, and he was trying to stop Sarah from having anything to do with it. But if her and Adrien did anything, I didn't know about it. But at this point, Sarah was trying to figure out what they were going to do. Sarah had asked Brandon, where should we put the body? And Brandon was like, well, you guys can take him over to my house, and we'll deal with it. And that will buy us some time. So they're only going to take Michael over to Cuna and put him at his mom's house in the spare bedroom to buy them some time. They weren't ever going to keep him there for a long period of time. To buy them some time to do what? Did they already know he was going to be unalive by the time they got there? Buy them some time for what? He's been duct taped. He's been put in a duffel bag. He's been brought over to Cuna. What happened to the plan that Adrien supposedly had to sell a child for money so that they could all get a $10,000 cut? Oh, what happened to that plan? Were they panicking because they weren't talking about doing it to a child? Were they panicking because it was a child from that neighborhood? What's all the commotion and fighting and everything about? And then we have the text message by Adrien Lucienne that said, let me think real quick. Sacrifice gone wrong. That was on yesterday's live. Adrien told his childhood friend, sacrifice gone wrong, that never happened before, claiming he was set up. And then he said something about the price gone up. The price went up, were his exact words. Did somebody in the house decide to try to sell Michael for more money? And then when that happened, were the people that were going to purchase him decide, you know what, I ain't even going to mess around with you guys. You guys are like, you ain't got it together. I mean, who would really want to deal with them in this kind of situation? Buyers of children don't want to be messing around with people on rugs, people on math that are wishy-washy. This is a situation where everybody could go down, everybody could get in trouble. Price went up. Did they just back down because somebody wanted more money for Michael? And then when they were told, you know what? I'm freaking done with y'all. I don't want nothing to do with y'all. You're too wishy-washy. Man, now you guys want more money? I'm done. Click. And now they're panicking because they have him. And now what the hell do we do? What the hell happened here? What happened to their plan? The plan that is now all for nothing because a 5-year-old little boy, Michael Joseph Vaughn, precious little monkey, was abducted. Nobody got anything they wanted. And the only people sitting back suffering now is the Vaughn family. For what? Because they wanted to make a buck and it didn't work out? It was Sarah trying to figure out what they were going to do. They were following Sarah's lead, which was to take a child. Sarah Wondra came into the house carrying Michael. This affidavit is eye-opening. Pick a topic, look through it, find your topics, and you can start to see everything that was going on. They got rid of 2 vehicles, the Lexus and the truck. The truck had been cleaned before the repo company came and got it, and we know they were slobs. Sarah is selling items in the house, one being the couch, another item being a bed, putting it into storage with her mother's help. The tricycle that Michael was seen on by Dorothy Starkey had been in their garage up until the time of Michael's abduction. Sarah Wondra and Stacy Wondra are having a phone conversation recorded talking about how they're not going to turn on one another. And Sarah specifically refers to Michael Vaughn. Well, hello there, Mama Bear. Thank you for coming in. Protect your heart and please protect your mental health, everyone. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for continuing to think of beautiful Michael. Well, thank you for coming in. Protect yourself, Mama. I know it's been hard on you lately. And we're here for you if you need us anytime. We're always going to be here. We love seeing you. Big hugs, big prayers. We're just ready to keep fighting with you. We keep hearing out on the YouTube streets that Sarah's been charged. Has Sarah been charged, or is that information you can or can't give out? We know there's a probable cause affidavit already written up on her, but there are people on the YouTube's streets talking about her being charged. Hello, everybody, and good night. Just wanted to drop by and say thank you, everyone, and Sam. You're doing an amazing job. Good night, everyone. Take care of each other. Well, thank you, babe. I appreciate that so much. I just love seeing you here. Retro Girl in the house, thank you. Hot Mess is in the house. Good to see you. Thank you, Brandy Neal Vaughn, letting me share Michael. It's not going to get any easier for them. Monkey's still not home. They've got a long road ahead of them. They still got to fight. They still got to get justice for Monkey. Back to what I was saying, phone conversations between Stacy and Sarah having to do specifically with Monkey Vaughn and turning on each other, even though it's a tiny little paragraph in this affidavit, it's there, and it's a recorded conversation. It's huge, huge. Stacy Wondra is calling the repo place. Hey, I want to borrow that truck. Can I use it? Can't you guys just sell it? Why? Why do they need it gone? Why was it so clean? They're getting rid of their phones. They had 5 different phones in 3-month period of time, or was it 3 phones in 5-month period of time? They're switching up their phones. They're using different SIM cards. Sarah Wondra is downloading apps with Adrien Lucienne to do some really shady stuff having to do with making money off of women, maybe even children, but something having to do with human trafficking. Surveillance puts all 4 of these suspects in the neighborhood. Brandon Shirtliff is out in the neighborhood when Michael Vaughn comes up missing. Sarah's social media and religious stuff is crazy. She goes from 11 videos to 329 videos from September to December. She's done checked out and lost her mind mentally. She's lying about when they towed the vehicle, when they were there. They're all lying about that tow, aren't they? They're all lying about the tow. They even say why they had several phones. And Stacy Wondra even says that there's evidence on those phones. There was text messages because he's asked, is there evidence on those phones you guys got rid of in July? I will know this probable cause affidavit by heart by the time I'm done picking through it. Because every single time I read it, there's just one more thing. Somebody was left at that house. Also, I've noticed they leave Adrien at the house. He takes a selfie of himself after they leave to take Michael to Cuna. Stacy's at the house the next day while Adrien, Brandon, and Sarah go to Cuna and bring Michael back. It is so very, very heartbreaking, Running Bear. Thank you for coming in. And I just want you guys to know, thank you, Plead the Fifth, for coming in. Unless they were trying to steal women to sell them, and then they thought a child would be easier. I'm not sure, but they are all messed up in the head. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't think any normal person could ever wrap their head around it. Or maybe they thought they could make more money if they took a child. Or maybe Sarah, since she's so damn controlling, thought it would just be easier to control a child rather than try to control an adult. It's insane. Yes, they were seen coming back in to the neighborhood with the tow. Let me see where that is. Hold on one second. If you give me a moment. Let me look. Hold on one second. Then they towed Brandon's car back to Fruitland. Stacy said that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrien went back to Cuna the next day. It is in here. And then the summary at the very, very end. In summation, Stacy confessed that the 4 members of the household, Stacy Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Brandon Shurtleff, and Adrien Lucienne, were all involved in the abduction and killing of Michael Vaughn. Their home is in the neighborhood next to the home where Michael lived and was last seen. The neighbor Dorothy Starkey saw Michael riding a tricycle near the Wondras' home at the time Michael went missing. That same tricycle was seen in the Wondras' garage prior to the abduction. The tricycle was discarded outside of the neighborhood off of a bluff after Michael went missing. Kay Ramsey, Sarah Wondra's mother, claimed to have found it and moved it to the entrance of the neighborhood, which is refuted by the fact that another neighbor, unrelated to the case, claimed to have found it and placed it there. Kay's story also does not account for the fact that the tricycle was in the house before being discarded and before Michael went missing. Live scent dogs tracked and were deployed, and the only house they showed interest in was the Wondras' house. You guys, out of 300 houses, there's this rumor going around that because Brandy was out walking the neighborhood and Tyler was walking the neighborhood and the rest of their family members were walking the neighborhood, that maybe the dogs picked up the scent because Brandy had walked to the house and put a fire on the Wondras' house. The fact of the matter is that those dogs hit on the Wondras' house and the fence at their house out of 300 houses. Out of 300 houses. And the dogs showed interest in the same area where Michael went missing. So out of the entire neighborhood and 300 houses, the dog hit where Michael went missing. The dog hit where the tricycle was. The tricycle that Michael Vaughn was seen on. The same tricycle that was in the Wondras' garage. The dogs pick up a scent at their house and on the fence, and where Michael was seen riding the tricycle. Out of the entire neighborhood. I cannot find that right now, hot mess, and my brain has started to not want to work. No, the cadaver dogs went to over 300 houses, and they only hit at the Wondra's house. Those dogs went through that entire neighborhood and only hit at the Wondra's and on the corner and where Michael went missing and where the tricycle was and where it had been moved. Let's see what Chad has to say. Sarah and Stacy and Brendan are all too stupid to organize trafficking on their own, but they are hella greedy and reckless. Well, I disagree. I disagree because Brandon had a lot to do with this also. It may have been Sarah and Adrien's idea, but Brandon knows a lot of people, a lot of bad people just like Adrien. And they were always scamming and making money, and they were good enough to do it online. They had a taxi service that they were scamming people and charging people for. They're selling iPads, phones, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And by all means, 6 cents, you are welcome to have your own opinion. I just personally think that I do agree with you, though, that they're stupid. I will say that. But I do think that they all organized this together. I don't know if they could have done it without Adrien. I think Adrien was the one that had the connections. Let's see what else is up here. I just want to look through real quick. Thank you guys all for coming in and supporting Monkey. I really, really appreciate it. And I know the Vaughn family does. I think they're all going to be charged too. It was so good to see Brandy coming in. She's feeling so much better. And I love it. She is a force, an unstoppable force. And so is Monkey's army. And we all stand behind her. We all stand behind her. Michael Joseph Vaughn was abducted on July 27th of 2021, and the 4 suspects that are named in his abduction are Stacy and Sarah Wondra, Adrien Lucienne, and Brandon Shurtleff. Stacy Wondra is going to be charged for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and concealment and destruction of evidence. And the affidavit says the exact same thing on Sarah Wondra. I'm currently trying to find out if she was charged, but I really feel like I would know if she had been charged yet. I haven't heard that she has been charged yet, but it's something I'm going to look into tonight because I want to confirm it. I want to confirm it. Adrien Lucienne is still out running around, but Sarah and Stacy and Brandon are all in jail. Sarah and Stacy are in prison. And Adrien, we're keeping an eye on you. People are looking for you. They want to know where you are so they can ask you where Michael is and ask you what you know. And I hope Brandon Shurtleff doesn't get out. I hope he's charged before he's released. And if he is released, I hope he starts hearing all the information that's been going around since he's been in jail. If he's not, I don't know if they have access to this stuff in jail or not, but excuse me, sorry. If you have any information about Michael's abduction or were told anything by the suspects, heard anything, please call the Fruitland tip line at 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too big or too small. Please, please be Monkey's hero, be the family's hero, give that tip, call it in. People are being charged. It's time for you to say something now. It's always been time for you to say something. If you know something, it's the right thing to do. Get it off of your chest. Imagine if this was your kid, you didn't know where your kid was, and you wanted to bring him home. Even though they're bringing Monkey home to lay him to rest, wouldn't you want to do the same to your own child? You wouldn't want to just constantly wonder where your child is. The Vaughn family has so many questions, and some questions may never even be answered. But the one question that they have is, where is Michael? And if you can help bringing Monkey home, you should do it. The tip line phone number 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. Everybody is welcome to be here for Michael. I want to say thank you so very much to everyone that comes and supports the Vaughn family and Monkey. Share Michael's beautiful face, share flyers, share his story. Come over to Michael Vaughn Case Revisited Facebook group. Join us in discussions. Come see the facts. If you're a creator, come over, start grabbing some information, do some lives on Monkey Vaughn. Give a thumbs up, get this out in the algorithm, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to just lurk, learn the facts. I am just happy that you're here. I want to say thank you to everybody that gave a super chat or a super sticker tonight or that become a member. I'm very, very grateful to have such a great community and chat. I believe it's one of the best on the YouTube street. Everybody here is always so kind to one another, and I really appreciate that. My moderators, thanks again for coming over on a very spur of the moment live. I will not be back tomorrow. I have a grandkid's birthday. Oh my God, I cannot believe my granddaughter's going to be 11. Where does the time go? So we're going to be eating pizza and JoJo's and having a great time, spending some time with family. And I absolutely need that so much, especially after such a hectic week, talking about such sensitive information in this affidavit. You know, do something good for yourself. Maybe take a day to yourself and stay off social media and just relax. If you've been following this case all week like me, it does help. And for everybody out there listening, I just want you guys to know, I have to keep my emotions at bay. If I sound like I'm being cold-hearted when I'm reading things, I'm not. If I'm going to continue working on Michael's case, I have to bring myself into a place where I can read these affidavits, read the information coming out and talk about it without breaking down. And if you've been here for a while, you've heard me break down before, and it happens, and I cry because I am a titty baby. And Michael means so much to me, and so does Brandy and the rest of the family. So I get through it the way that I know how. I had to take a break this summer, and it lasted for a good 3 or 4 months. But I am back now, and I am trying to protect my mental health. So please do something with your family. Enjoy all your grandbabies' loves, your kids' loves. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Lord help anybody that has anything like this happen to them or their families. You know, prayers go out to you. My thoughts go out to you. We're Monkey's Army. We're never going to stop. Never, ever, ever going to stop. And I just want you guys to know that I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Let's look at Michael's beautiful face before we go. Take care of yourselves, be kind to one another, love one another, and I will see you guys again soon. I'm going to pick through this affidavit a little bit more, see if I can come up with something for Monday. I am working with many people, getting a lot of stuff done in the background. I'm also working on some clips from a recording that I have from Jay, who was Adrien Lucienne's childhood friend. His real name's not Jay. Jay's just his initial. Will never give up his name on here. But I just want you guys to know there's going to be a lot of information coming. And of course, if I hear anything about whether or not Sarah's been charged, if I hear about it by tomorrow, I'll just post it up in the community. If I go live Monday, I'll talk about it there if I don't find out before then. So have a good night. Enjoy your weekend. Eat good food. Enjoy your family. Have a good night.